India, the world's biggest democracy, has a population of over 1 billion people, and all of them have different belief systems, cultures and traditions. This flux is a result of a long history of influences from all over the world. And it all began from these seashores. Shores which stretch all the way from Pakistan to Bangladesh. From trade openings to colonization to today's cultural exchange, these shores have been witness to all of it through the ages. The odyssey of life on the shore.
Life, as it has been for centuries, in this small fishing village across the shores of Kochi in Kerala. This region is home to several such fishing villages. The Vipin Island houses a way of life rich in history. Symbols of which stand firm on the shores.
This lighthouse on Vipin Island symbolizes Kerala's culture flux. This was built by the British in 1920, replacing the older one of 1830s. For about a century, this lighthouse has stood testimony to Kochi's life on the shore. The Kerala coastline has a unique history of harboring foreign influence. Arabs, English, Dutch and Portuguese have left their indelible influence here. Much of its international trade started with Kerala's spices, but it led to a cultural mix that's even spicier, and Kochi stands at the heart of this essence.
The Portuguese established a trade center in 1502 and built a fort near the port. This fort came to be known as Fort Kochi. In 1663, the Dutch ousted the Portuguese. In 1791, the British, after defeating Hyder Ali, brought the port under the British East India Company. The remnants of different influences still mark the city's landscape. St. Francis Church, built in 1503, the first European church in India, where Vasco da Gama was originally buried. The Santa Cruz Basilica, built in 1505 by the Portuguese. The Dutch Palace, built in 1555, originally by the Portuguese, then renovated by the Dutch.
And the Jewish synagogue. This is a bright example of the diverse influence on Kochi. Since the 16th century, it has given the city an identifiable landmark. It still exudes the opulence that once marked the Jews here. They held a pivotal position in the spice trade across the Malabar coast.
Belgian chandeliers, Chinese tiles, articles of gold and silver from across the world adorn the synagogue. The Old Testament is inscribed boldly in the synagogue. The Jew town here is one of the very few Jewish settlements in the country.
But the most lasting influence on this part of India has been of the Chinese.
Chinavala. The Chinese fishing nets are a common sight in Kerala, especially in Kochi. It's a means of livelihood and a way of life. Technically, these are shore-operated lift nets, 10 meters high, 20 meters wide, looking like huge hammocks. Every installation is manned by 4 to 6 people. The nets are submerged into the sea for a few minutes. The fishermen raise the nets at one go, keeping the balance together. The Chinese explorer Zheng Yi brought the net to Kerala in the early 15th century. The main Hindu fishing communities in and around Kochi, the Arayans and Velans, adopted it soon. These nets have dotted Kochi's skyline ever since, adding to life, adding to beauty, adding to the identity that's so markedly Kochi, because this heavenly view is rare even in God's own country.
But mortals like me have much more to do than enjoy these heavenly views. Welcome to modern Kochi.
From a sleepy small town 30 years ago, it has transformed itself into a bustling business hub.
Much of the business is still maritime. What Kochi is today is mostly because of its port. It handles more than 17 million tons of cargo every year.
Each wooden canoe measuring around 100 feet is rowed by around 100 people. The second boat secures the perimeter and the fishing gear. Near Cherthala is the Ardunkul Church, belonging to the Latin Christian community. The historic Ardunkul Basilica Church receives many members of the fishing folk of the Latin Christian community every Sunday. There's no other special ritual for the fishing folk. For most, Sunday is the day of prayer.
It is the day of prayer for them. Sunday is the day of appeal. The rest of the days simply test the strength of their faith, and hence the week starts with submission to the Almighty.
The rest of the week would quite literally be a tryst with destiny. Ardunkul falls between Kochi and Alappuzha. The picturesque small town is home to several fishing communities. The inland area of Ardunkul is interlocked between the backwaters and the Vembanar Lake.
A casual visitor would opt out of all the struggles. It is the escapism of Kerala's beaches that attracts us all, and this has given the state an economic alternative. Many traditional fishing villages now have grand resorts like Mararikulam.
Mararikulam is a picturesque fishing village 56 kilometers south of Kochi and only a few kilometers away from Alappuzha. Coconut groves swaying in the gentle breeze by the side of the beaches. a small Arcadia amid villages which haven't changed their way of life for hundreds of years.
Alappuzha, or as the locals call it, Alappi, is best known as the Venice of the East. These backwaters run throughout this small town, and to discover them in such boats is an experience unparalleled.
Alappuzha, the Venice of the East. It literally means the land between the sea and the rivers. Backwaters, lagoons, beaches, canals, a landscape unmatched in the whole country. A town that has become a prominent tourist spot. It has been known to the world for thousands of years. It had trade relations with ancient Greece and Rome. Later, the Dutch and the Portuguese had presence here.
You might not recognize this place, but you are bound to have heard about it. These backwaters host the world-famous Nehru Trophy boat race. The muscles of the rowing participants glisten in the sun, and the banks swell with cheering supporters. It is truly a spectacle to behold.
Each wooden canoe measuring around 100 feet is rowed by around 100 people. The final event takes place on the second Saturday of every August. A veritable show of muscle power that always wins the local hearts.
Every morning, the fishing community wakes up to a busy day, one that means constant struggle with the seas.
This thermocol boat is a small attempt to stay afloat in the struggle for life. It is sporadic, unorganized, yet seen so often. They venture close to the shore. From catching fish to selling it in the local market, the people are engaged in a variety of activities encompassing every possible aspect of the fishing industry. When the day draws to a close, each one is thankful to God and hopes for a better tomorrow.
But on the shore, life is about to get busy as these fishermen get ready for the day and move into the deep sea. Their time to act is now.
The boats are fitted with motorized engines. It surely needs stronger boats to go deep into the seas. Stronger boats, stronger will, and stronger prayers to the divine for support. The plan needs to be strong as well. A team generally moves with 2 boats. The strategy is to support the main boat and carry back its catch to the shore. This time of the year, with the monsoon around, the chances are better, but so are the dangers. On the coasts, the monsoon comes at a price. It seems the day might be a rough one as a storm brews on the horizon. Now it's time to fine-tune the strategy. They already have an idea of the direction they would be moving in, but they need to judge where the hunt might be better. The second boat secures the perimeter and the fishing gear. The team comes across a school of sardines. Unlike in most other professions, here life is endangered every single day of fishing in the deep seas. And that makes the God connection even stronger. The team comes across a school of sardines.
So now basically they're just collecting all the fish and pulling back the net, and any helpful hand is good enough, even though if it is someone like me and I don't compare to them in any way in muscle power. So they can see the dark clouds coming and it's starting to rain. It's only going to make their job more difficult. And I have the liberty to wear this raincoat, they don't.
A healthy catch this.
Drenched but satisfied, we are on our way back to the shore. They've got a very healthy catch, and if you think your 9-to-5 job is boring or tough, try and experience this. From taking the boat from the shore into these crazy waters to catching the fish, this is a really tough task.
Time for some relaxation after a good day's work.
The stretch between Kochi and Alappuzha is dotted with such special fish farms. They mainly breed prawns. They are not just sold in the local markets, but are especially of export quality. Fish is not just a way of life. It is a complete economy here in Kerala.
Kerala accounts for nearly 10% of India's coasts. Fishing in sea constitutes nearly 3% of Kerala's total gross state domestic product, 22% of India's fish produce, and 90% of Kerala's fish production. The sea hence holds a pivotal role in the lives of Kerala's fishermen. Their economy, their culture, their whole life are centered around the sea. And that doesn't change much with their communities. South of Kochi, the Hindu Mukkuvas and the Muslim Mappilas are the predominant fishing communities. The members of the Latin Christian community are present all over the state.
Apart from fishing and farming, the coir industry also holds a very important position in Alappu's economy.
There has been trade in coir since the ancient times, mostly through the Arabs. Since the British times, coir has been used for making mats and mattresses. Now it is an organized industry.
Yet it does not pose a challenge to fishing, and neither does it provide such a diverse market. These fish markets start locally and end up abroad.
Kerala's riders to the seas have a lesser choice to exercise. Life at sea has its share of daily travails. They set off generally in a group of 15 to 20. Each trawler has a group of 20 to 30 stakeholders. The fishing folk carry their bonding to the seas. Unlike many other communities, fishing families are very closely knit. It would be some time before this group of fishermen touch land again. The next 6 weeks of fortune hunting would determine if the families keep on smiling after all.
The times of kattumarams, the traditional wooden fishing boats, are long past. To keep pace with the fierce competition, mechanization has been the only plausible way. Yet, the introduction of inboard engines along with outboard engines has made the matters more complex.
This has pushed up the cost of operation in the form of both capital and operational expenditure. The outboard engine consumes 45 litres of kerosene per hour, while the inboard consumes only 15 litres of diesel per hour. All this meant that money had to be raised from sources outside the fishing community, and that in turn meant devaluation of decision-making and reduced surpluses. The fishing communities at large benefited marginally. The beauty of the voyage isn't being a passive spectator to the event. The more one gets involved, the more the travails show. In an area where the law of nature is the only predominant rule, humans are just a part of the struggle. Yet the voyage goes on as life needs a means to sustain itself.
For the Mukkavas, ocean is central to life. It is reflected in their practices in every possible way. This community, though mostly Hindu now, has had alliance with various faiths like Buddhism, Jainism, and even Christianity. They live with diverse streams of religion in harmony, a rather unusual synthesis. But what has remained constant is their worldview of Mother Ocean. They adapt to the sound of the waves, which is ever-changing, and no 2 days are same.
Not all days are either healthy, good, or lucky. Life for them is a challenge not just in terms of sustenance, but in terms of their very existence. Unlike in most other professions, here life is endangered every single day of fishing in the deep seas. And that makes the God connection even stronger. Communities of fishermen have owed their allegiance to their gods to ensure the stability of their lives. Mukkuvas to their Hindu deities. In their everyday life, God takes center stage, whether on or offshore. For Mapilas, Allah is ever present, protecting them and helping them cope with uncertainty. Prayer is not just a ritual, but a cry for very existence. Radha is one of the many women whose days end waiting for their husband's return. Radha's husband left for the seas 3 days ago. He isn't back as yet.
The return is not assured, but the wait is. There are some things that never change in life on the shore.